Philip Zeal Chebunet is a lecturer and a political communications expert. He's our next guest. Good morning.
Good morning to you.
Mambo namna gani?
Mambo ni mzuri.
Iko so.
Tumekuja Nairobi. Kusikia vile president anasema.
Makuja kusikiza haya maneno.
Peleke report huko nyumbani.
You're a lecturer in Eldoret.
Yes.
And this is at which university?
University of Eldoret. University of Eldoret, formerly it was called Chebunet campus.
Yes. More university.
It's now fully fledged university. We got a new vice chancellor the other day.
Yes.
And we are doing so well. We have very good courses. And right now there's a conference going on, and a multidisciplinary conference for 2 days. Yes.
Okay. As a communications expert, we have invited you so that we can come and look back into what the president told the nation yesterday. Constitutionally, he's required to present a report to the country once every year on the state of our security, on the state of our economy, on the state of our value system as a country. And he said a couple of things yesterday, and that's what's been covered in the papers today. For example, the Standard has my tough choices for a better Kenya. In a speech that lasted slightly over an hour, the president sought to give hope to a country that he acknowledged is grappling with challenges by listing his administration's achievements and measures, which he says are a testimony that Kenya is on the right path to transformation. For example, austerity. The president is asking us to stop wasteful spending to rescue the country from debt distress. We're going to pay the first batch of 45 billion shilling Eurobond installment by next month. He says he has laid a firm foundation for rapid development, acknowledging challenges in fulfilling election pledges. He says he had to make hard decisions and painful choices on where the subsidies will be injected, not at the point of consumption, but at the point of production. He says praises the fertilizer subsidy for increasing maize production by 18 million bags, and then reducing the cost of the 2 kilogram unga to a low of 145 shillings. However, he did not comment on the cost of diesel, petrol, and paraffin. He praised recommendations on the Presidential Working Party on education. He lauds the efforts to implement universal health coverage. He says the affordable housing program is on course, 50,000 jobs created so far. He issues stern warning against corrupt officials in the administration, praises the National Dialogue Committee for efforts in uniting Kenyans. What do you think he missed in the speech?
I think he did not miss anything, really. He had prepared. You said he didn't mention petrol and diesel, but I think even at the university when you are defending your master's or PhD, there's some things you close. You don't reveal so much, but you say your strong areas. And I think really the president said he's strong and areas that he has really scored. So I would give him around 6 out of 10. Yeah, I would give him 6 out of 10. I think he pointed the key areas. Yeah.
Don't you think 6 out of 10 is a bit harsh? I mean, if you look at the presidency, not only in terms of what the president says he has achieved, but if you take the view that he found the country in a certain state, and if we were to ask ourselves what that state was, and then you look at the state we're in now, would we then say that the state is worse than what he found? Or would we say that he has surmounted some of the difficulties that he has actually came across when he took office?
For me, I think he has really tried. I'll give beyond 7 and 8 after maybe the last year or the fourth year. But for now, he inherited a very. He was in very tough circumstances when he came to power, debt, and so many other things. So I think Ruto has gone through a lot. Even right now, if you see him reading that speech, you will see a president who has been made to make very painful decisions. So he has really tried. Because he came in also when there was COVID, and the debt was around 9 trillion. and he had to do a lot of reforms. But I think he has really chewed a lot. For me, I think it's now time to settle down. The promises that he gave, he needs now to go one by one instead of just coming with a bang. It's like when you want to marry a girl, you say so many good things. Yeah,
Many of them lies.
So you know you are lying.
No. Many of them aspirational.
yeah. Many of them you are visionary. You're telling this girl what you're going to do. But later on you now come and tell the girl that one by one, let's start from here, and that's now when you settle down. So I think Ruto came with a lot of plans. Yeah, in his plan he had a lot of very good things, which I think he's now implementing one by one. Yeah.
Oftentimes it's impossible to work in the present without taking stock of the past. That what you're going to do in the present and what you do futurely, there will be an element of what happened before taken into consideration. So whether you were in it or whether you studied it intimately, you would have some knowledge of the trend or trajectory that a nation, an office, something, even if you get a brand new job, you've never worked in that office before, you do a little bit of research about what was happening, isn't it?
Yes.
And you have an idea. We're talking about a president today who was in the last administration. I don't care if they say he was ousted. I don't care if they say he was locked out. He was in the kitchen. Is it possible to say that what he inherited, he had no idea about? We've had this conversation before. But as we are now moving forward and saying, all right, taking stock of what has happened and say that we had no choice because of what had happened before going forward, he had an idea of what was going on. Can it still be used as an excuse to say that it was inherited? And I keep giving the analogy of a race. When you're given the baton, do you keep saying, well, the person who gave me the baton slowed down, the person who gave me the baton when they were coming ran sideways, lopsided? Or are you going to take the baton and then do what you can do to catch up or to win the race?
When he came to power, I think he has not really done away with everything. There's some continuity. If you even check his security, you'll see people like Monica Chuma there, Chelugui, and other structures that he has. Even the projects that he's launching now, you'll see there's a continuation from from the past. But I think the president has just done away with the bad habits of the past. And taken the good habits and even some structures, he has not really done away with them. So the president really has not reinvented the wheel. I think basically he's fighting with the normal things like corruption, wasteful, that you have just said, wasteful people. He has cut down trips, even employment now.
What did you just say?
Yeah,
He's done what?
He has cut down.
Yeah, there's a circular even to tell us that you should not go to the country. You should be cleared. You saw that circular. But for him, of course, there's a reason why he's going out.
Okay.
So he's dealing with the common problems.
Is he though? Let's talk about wasteful expenditure.
Yes.
All right. One of the key indicators of cutting back on wasteful expenditure is cutting back on your expenditure. Now, if you continue spending and nothing much out of it shows that you're spending more on new things, you're spending more on the same things, it's an indicator that you are spending on wasteful expenditure of the past. Is there anything in his first budget of 3.8 trillion shillings? 8 trillion shillings that indicates that there is a reduction in wasteful expenditure?
You can even see most of the money has been channeled to the universal health coverage. The other day you even saw the president saying, even I have cut my expenditure for the trips I'm putting in to invest in people living with disability. So I think he's doing some things to reduce this spending, and it's really cutting
Philip,
cost.
Philip,
Yes.
Demonstrate where there was previous wasteful expenditure. Okay, show us a sector that was considered to be wasteful expenditure, whose budget has been, or whose expenditure has been reduced, and it has gone to more meaningful expenditure?
The area that I will really point out is health.
Okay.
Which he has really tried to work on bodies like EMSA. Yeah, he has really restructured. Look at even NSSF now. Yeah, NSSF has grown from 1.4 billion to around 6 billion per month, and he has really restructured. Look at what he's doing in NHIF. He has brought in new laws.
Yeah, that's because you're collecting more. NSSF is collecting more.
Yes.
And that's why there is more going to NSSF.
But there was a lot of corruption there.
Okay.
There was a lot of corruption.
Show me the cutback in terms of from our budget. The previous budget of the last budget of Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto was 3.2 trillion shillings.
Yes.
When William Ruto became president and he spoke in parliament, he said, in fact, the first order of business I'm going to do is cut back this budget of 3.2 trillion shillings by 300 billion shillings. His first budget increases this expenditure from 3.2 trillion shillings to 3.6 trillion shillings. And then we're saying, let's cut back on wasteful expenditure. So where is the reduction on wasteful expenditure? What is it that we were wasting money on that he had identified as 300 billion shilling worth that is now reflected right now?
Yeah, the plans that he had, I think if you check the introduction of his State of the Nation address, one of the things he said is that there was fiscal stress, infrastructure imbalance, external effects. I think he laid a foundation before he gave the State of the Nation address to show that he went into problems immediately after giving his plan. So at least now he's trying to adjust. He has increased the taxes and tried to catch up with what is happening in the world. And the stress will go down after some time. Yeah.
I have seen documentaries, I've read books about when a cancer is eating into someone's body and it is causing problems for the entire immunity. The doctor doesn't tinker about with ideas. They tell you either we perform radical treatment in the form of surgery where we cut the cancer out and then now start to deliver some serious chemotherapy and radiotherapy, or you will die. That's what they say. Clear. Maybe they're a little bit more empathetic when they're delivering the news, but more or less, that is the action that would be taken. Here we are, and we are saying that there's a situation whereby things are bad, they're in the doldrums. And we're saying, you're saying that there's cutting back on expenditure, which we do not see. So the thought or the hope would have been, especially now that this is State of the Nation in the manner in which was being delivered to Parliament yesterday, when we say, okay, we're going to see a reduction if non-essential travel, we're going to cut back a little bit on that, kind of like we're romancing the idea of what should be done, as opposed to saying there must be radical action. If it is going to be saved, there must be radical action in terms of what is going to happen. Would it not make more sense if we saw radical action across board? No question about shall we or shall we not. It should be done. It should be carried out. It should be immediate. Not flirting with the idea, but actually doing it. Would it not show a little bit more seriousness on the part of the executive to deal with this problem?
And I think he has started doing it. You saw the other day he was firing some people. He has really done it. He has restructured government. You saw that executive order. Readjusted some of the departments. Reallocated some of the departments to people like Mudavadi, Moses Kuria being shifted to public service and delivery. And so he is trying his best. And it's not easy to be president at this time.
It isn't.
It is
but
not
when
easy.
you offer up yourself for a position,
Yes.
surely you must have an idea of what it is going to be. You're not forced into it. You know that it's not
Yes,
going to be easy, isn't it?
Yes, and that's why he's really trying. And whoever comes, you will have to not to do too radical. You just
But remember
go
what
step
the
by step.
No.
Yeah, you
remember
cannot.
what the doctor said. If we are not radical, you will what? You will die. So are we saying that actually what needs to happen is when you're seeing poor fiscal health at the moment, you're seeing an economy, you're seeing a shilling that in 9 calendar months has dropped 30 shillings. 30 shillings
I know.
in 9 months. When you're seeing that's happening, when you're seeing that your CS for Treasury, for example, is telling you, actually, you know what, guys, it doesn't look good at all, and our hands are tied. We're not able to do anything more than this. But at the same time, we're looking at hundreds of millions in terms of expenditure that can actually be curtailed. We're looking at impeachment motions, for example, where it is alleged that so much money is being put on the table and being spent. These things are happening in broad daylight. And then we're saying there's no need to be radical. We take it step by step. I'm confused.
You can see what he did yesterday, and he gave an example of paying the debt, the 500 billion Eurobond. So really,
It's not a favor, it's a requirement. We took the money.
He
we
has
paid
even
back.
done it before next year. So you can see he has a plan. So one thing that I think the president does not want to go into is panic. He does not want to panic and throw away his plan. So let him execute the plan. Even if it will be painful, it will be painful. I think that's what he said. It will be painful, but let him execute the plan, and slowly by slowly, after 2 years, our economy will recover. Everything will be okay. It will be painful, and I think he announced in Kasarani that things will be tough. But I think Kenyans, the problem that we had is that we had a lot of expectations.
We didn't understand what tough means.
Yeah, tough. Yeah, we could not really. We had a lot of good things. It's like the marriage that I talked about. You cannot run away.
You can.
You'll have to stick there. You'll have to tell the children and
be
the wife.
tough to the dynasties.
Yes.
Not to we hustlers. Bro.
And I think also the hustlers had a lot of expectations, but they're
You've
slowly
got to tough
managing
it out.
Yes.
We're looking back into the speech, the content of the speech, the mode of delivery, what he's talking about. Was he, did he leave the country feeling, all right, there is hope, we can move forward? Did he leave the country feeling, oh my goodness, things are thick?
You see, I've been with the president so many times, and we are doing some work during election in communication, and I would say that Ruto does not like people who praise him. He likes people who speak the truth and give him alternative voices and opinions. So for me, I think, you remember when we were in school, when we used to write report forms and we tell students, can do better.
Yes.
Pull up your socks. And we didn't even have socks. Remember? See me, yeah, with a red biro.
Yeah.
Remember that? I think for Ruto,
Some of your students are already saying good morning to you, by the way.
Yeah.
They remember you in class.
Yeah. So I think for Ruto we can say there's
See
room
me.
there's room for improvement. Or pull up your socks.
What did he miss out in that speech? Or what has he missed out in the 1 year in office?
I think he missed out to inform the nation of new development, like in sports, arts, and the many other things that have really happened in Kenya. He really went into the cost of living.
It was an economic conversation.
Yeah, it was an economic conversation. Simply, I think, out of pressure. I think that speech was out of pressure from Kenyans, whatever Kenyans are going through. And he really wanted to touch the heart of Kenyans, that he's trying his best. So that's why I cannot give him everything, but I'll tell him to keep going, not to give up. Because if he gives up, we shall be in trouble.
Okay.
Day by day, I know challenges come up. Yeah, you know sometimes when you pour oil on your hands, you will see oil flowing in all directions.
To slip through
So I
the
think
fingers.
it's not easy to govern the way people think. Just give him the benefit of doubt, and he gave the good things and the plans that Kenyans have.
You know, the unfortunate thing about this job that our president has, people never give you a chance. Unfortunately.
I know.
From the day you get the job, you have two broad groups. Those who are sitting back and waiting to see you fail, and those who are praying with all the prayers they can summon to see if you will succeed. Now, the question that I have in mind is, how does one actually measure political success? Because if we talk about political success, I would have to go down to how we elect our leaders. There are those who argue we elect leaders based on their development records. And even as I say that, there will be people who have been elected and re-elected and the development record is dismal. But they are elected. What do we consider to be the value of a leader? For what reason? Once someone is elected, what exactly do we want? Are we very clear in our minds what it is we want this leader to actually do? Because a leader comes in, and as we say, no sooner had he taken the oath of office, and then criticism galore. You haven't done this, you haven't done this, you haven't done this. Now you are in communication. Would you say that the government effectively communicates what it has actually done? Because I am of the view that if someone says this government has done nothing, it is not true. There's a lot they have done, but if they don't say it, will we know?
Yeah. We have a very big problem in communicating what we have done. I think the opposition and the other side have really hit us very hard, because just the other day before Maura was elected or appointed to be the government spokesperson, our communication had been so disjointed, and we have not really been talking about what we have scored. But I think from now going forward, you will see this other side being very organized, and we'll begin talking about our good things.
What will change?
I think now there will be organized communication from one source, and that is from the government spokesperson. Because you even saw what was happening at the airport. You see just a minister wakes up and says fuel will be 500, or is it 300?
Yeah.
Yeah? Another one says you can dig your own your own fuel.
Your own oil, yeah.
So you find just everybody just speaks the way they want. And I think
So how is the government spokesperson going to gag them?
Right now,
If a minister is appearing before an important parliamentary sitting like the National Dialogue and is asked about the cost of fuel, and the minister is responding and saying, I have read the New York Times and it says cost of fuel is going up and I predict it could even go up, how would the government spokesperson stop the cabinet secretary from saying that?
I think very soon there'll be a circular. It is a circular that's coming up, so that these people like David D, these people who talk carelessly when Kenyans are passing through a lot of pain. Yeah, somebody says Kenya is a patient. Really? Yeah, these are people who are injuring Kenyans and taking us reverse gear in whatever the president is doing. So would like to tell
as a
this-
communications expert, would
Yes.
you advise on that? Would you advise on saying let's gag people and only channel communication through this one office called the office of the government spokesperson,
crucial policy
who
issues.
will only be giving
Yes.
us information in, of course, then it sounds like they'll never come and tell us the truth. They'll never come and tell us that Kenya is a patient.
You see,
They'll never come and tell us.
You see, in communication, we say you should, before you engage your mouth, you should engage your brains. Yeah, and when you are coming to Spice FM, you should not leave your brain at home. You should come with your brain here. So these people who are leading Kenyans, before you say any careless statement without any research, How did you know that fuel would reach? In fact, one of the Kenyans was saying, "Sasa mwanzie 500 bus fuel." Then munateremka pole pole. So these people are really hurting. Yeah, and I would like to tell every leader, everybody who is in this government, please, you should weigh. They should weigh, because Kenyans are passing through a lot. Yeah, right now there's no money.
But don't you think it's unfortunate? Because you see, if you're a minister of a government, and as you say, you speak carelessly, do they understand that they're actually representing their government? Because the blame, yes, will go to the minister, but will go to the appointing officer. The person who chooses these people is the president. Now, the question one asks is, okay, you say they moved people around. We see that, but if what someone is doing actually harmful to the citizens, do you move them to another docket? Or do you remove them completely?
But I think they will be removed very soon. So, because if you see the plans the president has, nobody can stand and stop what he's planning. Even all these people, some of these people actually, they need to be schooled. I think people are just appointed, no communication skills, no research skills. They are just...
Why would the president appoint people who are incompetent? These are appointees of the executive. Why would he, who you say has a plan to be able to go forward, essentially to lift this country out of the depression it currently is in, why would the same person appoint these individuals whom you say are clueless?
But these individuals, they look good. But... The problem with them is that I think some of them, you even saw the president saying, some of you don't know what you are doing. Yeah, you are in a docket, you don't know what you are doing in the ministry. I think you heard that. Mm-hmm. So very soon, as days go by, going to the 5th year, I think you'll see some people losing their jobs.
But why would he appoint them? If it is very evident, and why wait until the end if it's evident that somebody's not doing their job? If I'm in a position where I am not executing or I am not fulfilling that description for which I was given the position, I'm shown the door. Why would the president appoint someone who is very clear from what you're saying now doesn't fit the bill? Why would he do that?
Most of these people were so good before elections. They look so good. But when they have gone to power, I don't know what comes to them, because they become so rude and so arrogant. But before, they had a lot of good plans. So I think let's give the president the benefit of doubt, and let's see how he behaves with these people, whether he's going to sack them, whether he's going to do away with them. And I think he has done that. There's some, I think one PS or two who are left out. So the president will work on them.
But then, Philip,
yes,
communication expert again, lecturer in communication, and you're citing communication gaffes by some of these senior government officials, cabinet secretaries, people who are in serious authority, like chair of the Economic Council and so on and so forth. And they're saying what they're saying and how they're communicating is completely off. Is it by design, perhaps? Maybe picking from their boss. The boss told us when the government-to-government deal was signed on importation of petrol that, now we are going to sort out this whole issue of the weakening shilling, forex. He said, in fact, he's predicting that the shilling will now come back to about, 120 or thereabouts. Of course, it did not slip back to anything close to that. It's even sliding further and further away from the 120 that he said. The president himself said it. Just the other day, the president said, El Nino, he created the impression that what had been predicted by the Kenya Met scientists in terms of the effect of the oncoming rain was not going to be as severe. He said, Mungu ni nani, El Nino, that said El Nino was not. We hosted the director of Kenya Met yesterday, and he said, we have not deviated from what we've been saying. We started by saying expect heavy, sustained rainfall, accentuated by El Nino. We have not moved away from that. But the president comes and says, creates that impression. I think if we're talking about communication gaps, let's start at the top.
You see, as a leader,
How would the president arrive at this position where he's speaking publicly and saying something that then turns out to be completely untrue or incorrect?
you see, the president has a lot of advisors, and people who give him information. So maybe during that week, maybe they gave him information that there will be no rain, and then things change. So the president is also trying to manage the country. And
how would you advise him now, looking at all these things and seeing this is what has happened, right? He makes promises and gives timelines and gives specifics. The specific of a figure 120 thereabouts is specific. He's being very specific and saying the shilling will come down to 120 or thereabouts. He's being very specific and saying El Nino not anymore. Being very specific and saying in 6 months' time this is what's going to happen. Being very specific and saying by June the price of LPG will have dropped to, how much was it?
300.
300. But he's specific. How would you advise him? Because all those things, many of those things that he says with such specificity do not come to pass. Gas 300, story. Dollar 120, story. El Nino, story. Boss.
yeah, I think he had some plans. He was hoping, aspirations. You must start somewhere. So start somewhere. But I think figures have been really a problem with this government. And talking about figures, I think it's just good to give people hope and show them your plan. But timelines and saying by when, I think that's where there's been a weakness. Yeah.
I want to look back into the speech yesterday, and I asked you, what do you think he did not talk about? But something stood out for me. One of the requirements of the Constitution is talk about the state of security. He mentioned the areas of security, but he did not talk about a major operation that he himself launched in the 6 counties of north of Kenya, where even the military is involved, and the progress of pacifying these 6 counties. Because we are still seeing spats of violence. He did not talk about it. Shakahola, months since we started exhumation of a piece of land in Kilifi County, flat land, not rocky, not mountainous, not valid, flat, uninhabited, but we have not finished digging up the ground to pick up bodies that have been buried there. Months since the operation began. No end in sight to this operation. These are big security operations. The president did not talk about them.
Since last year, you know, when you talk about this state of the nation, this is not the only state of the nation address that Ruto has done. You remember he did one in March this year, which was not really maybe in the Constitution, but it was state of, I think you even wrote here, state of the nation. And he really gave those issues of Shakahola and what was happening down there. So I think yesterday he was a bit selective. He just picked...
Do you think there was a major omission?
The cost of living things.
Because when, as required, you're supposed to give the state of security and internal security. And these are many people. These are big incidences of insecurity. And you do not talk about them. You do not talk about, and you're supposed to give a report as the chair of the National Security Council to talk about such a major operation where Kenya Defence Forces are working, assisting the police in a major security operation in 6 counties that collectively cover over 25% of the landmass of the country. And you don't talk about it as the chair of the National Security Council. As the chair of the National Security Council, more than 600 people have disappeared. How many have been exhumed so far? So many have been exhumed, dead in unclear circumstances. And it's a major security question, and you do not talk about it. You're supposed to give an account of what has happened in the last 1 year as the chair of the National Security Council. You do not talk about it. Why would he omit something like that?
In the bigger document, I think this was just a summary. I saw a document yesterday because I was there. It's a very big document. I think it
The
must,
reports that he
the reports.
presented.
I think they're inside there, and I think you can access one of them. But I think he simply talked about the strong areas. I think Ruto did not want to give the negative so much, and what has happened. He simply wanted to give hope to Kenyans, whatever brings money into their pockets. But whatever has happened in the security, I think that the minister is going on with that operation.
Okay, what
So,
do you
yeah.
think about these security operations? Do you think the government is handling them well?
I think more needs to be done. There is a problem, especially when it becomes a culture where people steal cows, even when an operation is going on. So there's more that needs to be done, especially with the politicians. You saw this issue of politicians going to record statements. I think we are tired with such stories. Yeah, they are always going. Kamket is in every police station. Yeah, he's ever recording statements. Yeah, and I think those are just PR gimmicks. They need to arrest people. Yeah, they need to find out who are the armed forces are here and the police are here. They're in the same area in Samburu, and stealing is going on in the next village. So I think it has really become a culture where we need to confront, we need to deal with the leaders, the ringleaders of these criminals. So the tactics need to be improved, and I think you can even see that Kindiki has really improved.
Who?
Yeah, Kindiki. Yeah, he has really tried.
Has he?
Yeah, the way he began, people did not have any hope.
I still don't have hope.
but
Let
now-
me just add to that list of people.
yeah.
I don't
man
have
has
hope.
really tried.
No, he
To
hasn't.
do what, though? What are we
He's
talking
talked a
about?
great deal, but beyond the talking, what results are there? What is it that he can tell us with certainty? You see, this is where the communication comes in. If I don't know, then my position stays the same. What have they done? There was an operation in the northern part of Kenya. What have we achieved? There was an operation against Al-Shabaab. What have we achieved? He spoke about the matter of Shakahola. Where are we? See, when we talk bandits and we are saying that they are bandits, they are killing people in Baringo, they are killing people where? It is his duty, having told us there was an operation, to tell us what they have achieved, where we are. If there's peace, he should tell us. If people have been arrested, they should tell us. Have you read anything? Have you heard what has happened in all these things that he told us with great clarity that they're working on?
That's why I was saying that we have a weakness in telling our story, telling what has happened. And I think the president has really been overworked. You see, this president, he is the one who is giving evidence. He's the one who is talking the whole day. If you go to these rallies and barasas, you will see the president giving. He's the one giving stories. He's the one narrating about development. Like if you go to these functions where the president is, he lists all the development from sports, from environment. He goes to arts. He goes to internal security. He goes. It's as if the ministers do not exist in Kenya. It's as if the PSS have gone for a foreign trip. So that you find the president is really giving the plan himself.
You think
he talks for hours.
Okay, and it's not given to him, but he actually goes and digs up the information.
These fellows are just clapping.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
The president is the one who says the master plan, everything, how they are going to arrest criminals, yeah, how they are going to revive the economy. These fellows should do their work. And let the president just come and give a summary the way he gave the other day in the State of the Nation. So, but these fellows are they're just there. We don't see any good thing that they have done. I think even some of these ministers, they don't have a Twitter handle. They are nowhere. We cannot see anything. Yeah, and this really pains because when some of us are doing good work, they are taking us back. So the president should be supported. And that's why these fellows were appointed to be in government, to support the president. But you find the president he knows the whole plan in tourism. Everything the president is talking. And these fellows are just, unasikia ameenda trip, sijui wapi.
But does that speak of the ministers not working, or does it speak of the president usurping the powers of his own ministers?
I think the president is not usurping. You know, Ruto is a very different president. He's a hands-on person that needs to be supported. So Uhuru Kenyatta was a bit different. But you'll find Ruto is a worker. So if he gets support and people talk about the good things that he has done, and you know, if you are doing things like the way you said, and you don't make them known, then you'll continue getting people making noise.
Philip, do you get a sense that the president is then frustrated by this lack of effort by his ministers?
I think he is.
Do you think he's unhappy with how his ministers are doing?
He is very unhappy.
He meets them every week in a cabinet meeting.
And he does cabinet meetings in Mombasa.
Every week he meets them.
Every week.
Right? They speak about how he speaks to them almost on a daily basis, calling them, following up this, the other, giving guidance on this and that. That doesn't sound like somebody who's frustrated by their effort.
No, but Kenyans need to see progress. They need to report. Kenya will never get another president like Ruto.
Never.
It will be very difficult because the fellow is very organized. He has very good intentions. He has very good plans. But the people around him don't really report. They don't say the good things that he is doing. So the president wakes up every morning, says his plans, says the results that he knows, but he needs a strong support from this team.
Is there any force, political or otherwise, that will be holding him captive to not take action against people who are not performing under him?
I think there's no force.
So he has had the leeway from day one to actually dismiss people that he feels are not.
Ruto does not want to be disruptive at the beginning of his regime.
Actually, dismissing cabinet secretary will disrupt nothing.
But you will see,
even removing a PS, it will disrupt absolutely nothing. You know, a country like ours, the person who actually matters is the president. Everybody else are part of his cabinet, and they're there because he has decided that they're there. If he decides otherwise, the new person who's brought in will be welcomed and life will continue.
But you'll see that soon.
Tutaiona.
Some people will go home.
You think so?
Yes.
Okay. We'll hold you to your word. This is a man who has worked very closely with the President, William Ruto, even in the campaigns and as a communication strategist. I'm sure you still work very closely with the team.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And so you're giving us the leakage that kichapo inakuja.
Inakuja. Things will happen.
All right.
Yes.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.